Gotta focus on yourself out here, y'all. Pay too much to the competition. Don't worry about what other people doing. Gotta trust your process. Worry about yourself, like I'm saying, man. Bigger than me, bigger than you. You know what I mean? If you know what you gotta do, then do it. You always making excuses, we ain't got time for no excuses. You gotta get it, man. You know what I'm saying? Don't let nobody hold you back. Don't worry about that negativity, suggestions. Fuck all that shit, my nigga. Yeah.
No competition. I'm feeling so fabulous. And you niggas mad as shit, but it do not matter, kid. So what's the comparison? You niggas ain't zagging yet. Tell your homies stop gassing you before we pull up and embarrass you. No competition. I'm feeling so fabulous. And you niggas mad as shit, but it do not matter, kid. So what's the comparison? You niggas ain't zagging yet. Tell your homies stop gassing you before we pull up and embarrass you. Yeah. Still watching for clones, but they all over the globe. Probably why I say whoa. That nigga never made money from stoves, but went hard with the zones. Me and Henny broke it down way before. Now we killing shows, just act like you know. Whoa. Got a new bitch from the bottom. Still never change out my niggas from powders. Honest, I've been feeling golly. You get in my way, then you leave me no option. Niggas thinking this a race, till we put them in their place. Leave their family with a ghost, then we pull off in a race. Competition. I'm feeling so fabulous, and you niggas mad as shit, but it do not matter, kid. So what's the comparison? You niggas ain't zagging yet. Tell your homies stop gassing you before we pull up and embarrass you. No competition. I'm feeling so fabulous, and you niggas mad as shit, but it do not matter, kid. So what's the comparison? You niggas ain't zagging yet. Tell your homies stop gassing you before we pull up and embarrass you.
It's no competition. You niggas be lying about how you be feeling, saying you Jordan, you not even Pippen. Or Rodman when he was with Pistons. You blondie, you lying about all of your visions. Your paper be short like some midgets. I used to step out and just worry about digits, and now I just focus my visions. I had to distance myself from some people, cause they just be holding you back. I wasted some time, I never get back. Like why I do that? You niggas be bitching, it's just to be seen and put on the map. I only know some niggas who know how to spin up a check and get it right back.
No competition. I'm feeling so fabulous, and you niggas mad as shit, but it do not matter, kid. So what's the comparison? You niggas ain't zagging yet. Tell the homies stop gassing you before we pull up and embarrass you. No competition. I'm feeling so fabulous, and you niggas mad as shit, but it do not matter, kid. So what's the comparison? You niggas ain't zagging yet. Tell the homies stop gassing you before we pull up and embarrass you. No competition.
Gamer boy, gamer boy, gamer boy, gamer boy.
I think I'm cute, I know I'm sexy, I've got the look that drives the girls, while I got the moves that really move them. I send chills up and down their spines. I'm just a sexy boy. Are y'all ready to go? It is time for part 2 of a Christian pastor finally having the audacity to call out these goddamn Christian nationalists. I make them hot, I make them shiver. Nationalists get weak whenever I'm around. They see me walk, they hear me talk. I make them feel like their God ain't real. I'm just a sexy boy, I'm not your boy toy. I'm just a sexy boy, I'm not your boy toy. That mic flip though. Hands off the merchandise. I'm just a sexy boy. I'm not your boy toy. I'm just a sexy boy. I'm not your boy toy. I'm just a sexy boy. I'm not your boy toy. I'm just a sexy boy. I'm not your boy toy. I'm just a sexy boy. I'm not your boy toy. I'm just a sexy boy. I'm not your boy toy. Welcome everybody to another edition of The Blackout. I am your host with the most, all the way from the East Coast. And as always, folks, I am in airplane mode, and I am joined by the biggest, the blackest, the most deadliest, the meanest ass kicker I could find all over the internet. I am talking about the miraculous Buddy. Give it up for Buddy starting the show today. Yes, Buddy is here. Woohoo!
The Phoenix, back from the brink of death.
Yeah, how's he doing?
He's doing good, man. He's that scared the absolute dog shit out of me.
No, man.
It was gross. It was gross, and I really thought that was it. And 24 hours later, this fucker rebooted. Yeah, he's eating like a horse. He's got his energy back. I don't know what it was. He's got an appointment this week just for a checkup to see what the hell that was, but he's all right now.
I have been there. Believe it or not, Sam survived a car accident, and it collapsed his lung. And he was so on the edge that the vet who performed his surgery erected a special crate for him in the surgery room because he didn't want to leave him unattended. Like, he was so unstable. He was like, I have to keep him under surveillance at all times. But yeah, he made it through and recovered. And I probably think about that scary ass time more than he does.
No question.
Yeah, it's a mess.
They're good to go. Yeah, but we're the ones that walk away the emotional wreck. Figure that one out. Yeah.
But yeah, man, got to tell you before we get started, I have been moving, and as anybody knows, moving sucks. I have been straight Uncle Bobby marathon the whole time. If there's no new episode, I'll go back to something recent I missed. Oh, wait, I've watched all the recent episodes. We will go back to season 1, season 2. I'm just scrolling through the depths of the page and trying to find some Uncle Bobby I haven't seen yet.
Crap. That's, if you're going all the way back to the season 1, I almost cringed to. I think I remember. I mean, I was yelling. I mean, it was my delivery has changed. I've definitely calmed down some, but holy crap! If you're going back to season 1, all I can say is I'm sorry.
No, man, I love it. It's just, it's like when there's nothing on TV, right? And you're like, I'd rather watch a marathon of the old seasons of one of my favorite shows than watch this new crap because there's nothing on the tube. So. Yeah, man, just thanks for helping us get through this move.
Of course. And real fast, it's on Twitter, so I'm assuming this is somewhat public information. Our main man, Paulie B, lost his wife.
Oh, I'm so sorry to hear that, man.
I don't know if you guys are not aware, but I'm looking right at it. I saw it this morning. First sentence simply reads, "So my wife died Friday night."
Oh, my Lord.
He's one of us. She's been sick for a little while, but since none of us believe in prayer, make sure you raise a drink tonight for our main man,
Man,
Paulie motherfucking B.
we could raise a. You
Yeah.
got your glass. We could raise a drink right
Goddamn
now
right.
to the main man,
Goddamn
Paulie
right.
B, and the
Paulie B.
missus, man.
Yeah. May
You know-
Poseidon bless her journey.
I just want to say, Paulie B, I hope someday some woman decides Jay Bundy is worth sticking with through to the end. You know? So far they're like, no, this was a temporary arrangement. Get the fuck out of here.
We're looking at the clock. We're at the 6-month mark. Thanks for the emotional bruises. I'm out.
But yeah, man, sorry for your loss, Paulie. We're here for you. Please let us know. Reach out.
Absolutely.
And definitely, bro, reach
Absolutely.
out if you're having a hard time. You need somebody to talk to.
Absolutely.
Do not feel like you
Absolutely.
have to go through this alone. I know sometimes when there's grief or there's mourning and all of the family is still on the thoughts, prayers, don't worry, she's in a better place now. Sometimes you need somebody who will just sit with you and talk to you.
Exactly.
It just isn't going to give you that. So
Yeah.
please
Yep.
reach out, brother. All right, man, you want to jump into this?
Let's jump into this. We got a little claim on our last video, but fuck it.
Did we really?
Yeah, I just saw it this morning.
Oh, my
we
goodness.
got the copyright claim on this video.
It's not a strike,
But,
though, is it?
No,
Is it
it's
just
not a strike.
All right, so you want to just rock it?
Yeah. Matter of fact, it's let me make sure. B email. Yeah. Yep. Yeah. Manual copyright claim. This is not a copyright strike. This claim does not affect your account status.
Oh,
So
all
we
right.
got claimed, but hey,
Hey,
last one was good.
all right, you want to do it? All right,
Let's do
time
it.
to Autobots transform
Transform.
and roll out.
Roll out. Come on.
All right, Bobby, what's the last step here?
Oh, gang, let's jump into this shit.
No, but there's one more step.
Oh.
The perspective isn't
Blow
right.
up, Shuey.
We gotta blow
Wait,
up, Shuey.
There we go. Like, I'm slipping on my
of which
own
I've
game.
served in the past. You can be more anonymous, and people don't know each other, and people don't speak to the pastor directly. The pastor almost becomes sort of like this unreachable godlike figure, and so I think that contributes to a lot of sense of misinformation. People just kind of find themselves getting swept up into things, and then, as you heard on, if you ever listened to the Mars Hill podcast that Christianity Today put out, people, when they try to disentangle themselves from this movement, that's all their friendships, that's all their clay, in combination with scenes of Jesus'
Holy
death
crap,
on the
I
cross.
messed that
And
up.
For me, it was
Uh-oh, what's up?
yeah, and I think that so
Accidentally
much
went
of
back to the beginning.
religion
earlier.
in general can
But
be
we're good. This is where
considered,
we wanna be, so we're good.
cult. Like we have to be really careful. And Jesus was aware of that as well, like, criticizing in the religious hierarchy of his day. So I guess, yeah, I'm kind of hesitant to like throw that term around at people, being a pastor myself. But it is a lot. I listen to a lot of cult podcasts. So
What does it take to successfully guide people away from that distorted gospel, acknowledging that the reason
Pause
the
the
MAGA
tape
gospel
already.
is preached
Pause
at
the
these
tape.
mega churches?
Go for it.
Again, Yeah, picking up where we were on the last show on this. Yay, if she wants to be a pastor, way to go. But again, and he's talking about the distorted Christianity. Do you guys have any idea how many pastors would shit on the idea that someone with a vagina had a pastoral credentials? And again, so it's like, what is the definition of distorted Christianity? And I guess it's just quite simply, the type of Christianity that these two cats don't follow. Because if you ask Durbin, he's got it right. If you ask Turk, he's got it right. If you ask someone as effed up as Cy Tim Bruggencate, even his monkey ass will tell you, I've got it right. So it's like, what is the definition of a distorted version of Christianity?
Yeah, and it's really hard too because I actually feel bad for people like this. There's a way in which it's like they just can't see beyond the perimeter, so to speak, of their own faith. Because I feel like religion is inherently misogynistic. It's inherently, pro-slavery, and it's interesting hearing. We watched a video of a young black woman named Indigo Soul, I think her name was. Great deconversion story. But she put the misogyny on blast. She put the hypocrisy on blast. She put the hierarchy on blast. And it's just so interesting when people don't see that, right? So she's in the church, and to her, I'm sure within 5 minutes of talking about her church, they would be bragging about the female leadership. Oh my God, we have a woman pastor. Oh my God, everyone's welcome. But they just can't see that essentially that won't make it true. Like having the nice version of Christianity, white knuckling to hold on to the righteous version still won't make it true. And meanwhile, you still are left debating the book with the Christian nationalist.
Yep. And it's something I refuse to do. Bible wars are absolutely useless.
But what does somebody like this say to a Paul or whoever? Because they're just gonna flip to the book and be like, and a woman shall not teach over a man. Da, 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 da. I would, not the subject of this podcast, but I would love to hear how some of the female ministers address that.
Oh yeah, I gotta actually look that up.
Is because it works. It's attractive in some way. It's certainly lucrative. It is incredibly effective. We can just look at the numbers and the growth of these churches for evidence of that. How do you counter something that alluring?
I think part of it too is just the sort of homogenization politically of a lot of our communities and a lot of our churches. So when you're surrounded by folks that all think the same way as you, it feels, if you're starting to have doubts, it's really easy to push those down, and it's really scary to raise those doubts when you don't feel like anyone else is there. And so that's why I've often said too, like, I spent the last 3 years, I live in a pretty progressive neighborhood of Southwest Minneapolis, and then I drove an hour west to serve a congregation in rural Minnesota, where 2/3 of the county voted for Trump in 2020. And so I, spent a lot of time in both of these sort of polarized worlds. And what I saw was that we deeply kind of need each other, and also that it's important to listen to minority political voices in communities. And so that's why I so, support the work of people who are encouraging, especially like the Democratic Party, to re-engage. And
let me just say here, I was raised on this, and I actually agree with her here, which is, so like my dad sort of helped me make my bones in politics in Newark, New Jersey. Like the idea of like you serve, you get involved, and you get a reputation. And our issues were always women and minority voters, and urban education, first and foremost, above everything else. And then economics and on and down you go. But my dad taught me all the time, even since I was very young, two things. One, you always need your neighbors. All politics is locals, and it starts with you and your neighbor. And also that urban issues and rural issues are the same issues. Not always 100% one and the same, but poor people are poor people, and most poor people in this country are white, rural people. And so the same things that we need, better schools, stop gerrymandering the districts, we need better health care, raise the minimum wage, all of these things that tend to be seen as policies that will uplift minority groups, especially those in urban environments, will also uplift rural populations, especially those in rural areas. So I'm with her on this. I'm with her on this. Yeah, and it's sad because the Republican Party is often making these people vote against their own interests, right? Like if they were to vote their self-interest, you would have the rural people who make up, let's say, most of the areas in the country that are not cities, right? Or not big cities, right? And then you have your urban populations, which are really the population centers in the big cities. Now, you mean to tell me these two groups come together and start voting on the same page? That's just a majority voting block. That's just gonna roll through everything. But the trick is to make the rural folks vote against their own interests, specifically to spite those in the urban communities. And then, yeah, to some extent, the urban communities get isolated and redlined, and then it's like you're living in two different countries. But I hope we can come together on this without Jesus being the reason for the season.
Good luck with that.
Exactly.
Tell America to listen to the voices of folks who are, and I think Barack Obama did that pretty effectively. It's like, maybe you're not going to win this county, but you're going to get a little bit of a more divided electorate, a little bit larger minority. And I do think that just when other people have the sense for that there's space to have pushback in these conversations, there are churches who are going to offer an alternative. People want that. Sometimes they're just not aware that it's possible.
Thanks for watching, everyone.
Yeah, so this is a good
alternatives to what?
This is a good point for Lena, that they keep trying to paint Jesus to be the radical progressive he most certainly wasn't. Matter of fact, there's a conservative organization behind the He Gets Us ads, and that's exactly what they're doing. And they were so big, they played those ads at the Super Bowl.
I remember that.
And then Lena said, I prefer if they leave that bull behind, because the progressive Christians are liars. They know they're disobeying the Bible. They know they're going beyond the Bible with their doctrines, right? But they're still insisting they're biblical. All right, let's see what he says. I thought he was interviewing her the whole time.
Quick message.
Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
No, let's hit it. Let's see what he's got.
From our show sponsor. But first, I've got a favor to ask. Growing a show like Burn the Boats depends on their show up in the feeds of...
All right, capitalism, I'm licking your balls. All right. I got the fast forward button.
There we go.
And listen to those AM stations.
That was a lot of capitalism, gang.
Again and again, this idea that a revival is coming. Language like a revival, the likes of which we've never seen. And it's presented almost ominously, not in a hopeful way, but in kind of a vengeful way. Like, they'll see what's coming. I assume you're hearing that too.
But pause the tape. Like, a revival, making it sound ominous. That's because Christianity is ominous. It just is. That's not up for debate. Be it a revival, making Christianity mainstream, like it's not. The second all this stuff talks about death and destruction. Right? There's just he's saying the right thing, right? They're making it sound ominous. That's because it is. Right. Again, even if it's not all the way in the book of Revelation where, God's just going to wipe us out with fire. I mean, when you talk about like the Christian nationalists trying to, install their version of a theocracy, that's pretty fucking ominous, not just for everyone who's not a Christian, but it's ominous for the Christians. So, I mean, there's just no nice way to spin what it is that he just said.
Also,
it's all gonna be bullshit.
Yeah, like, the other thing is, again, as liberal Christians, aren't they obligated to celebrate revival? Aren't they? And this is where the messaging gets lost, because they got to turn around and say, oh, we want revival. We want the Jesus revival. We want the spiritual revival. Oh, but the way you guys are talking about revival over there and then making it electoral politics, that's not going to work. Like, and this is the double talk that liberal Christians have to engage in. The other question I have is, who's allowed to participate in the revival? Because a lot of y'all remember one of the things we've been dealing with lately is there was that Asbury revival, right? Where miraculously somehow, gang, at a Christian college, a bunch of Christian students started engaging in a Christian worship service, and it got so good to them they didn't want to stop, and so people just kept going, and this thing went on, I don't know, for a week or whatever it was. Actually, gang, let's pull up on the people's computer of knowledge.
Let's do it. Let's do it.
Is
I want to see this.
Asbury revival? Scheduled the service on February 8th. The event is in 144 hours.
Jesus.
All right, so it went on. For a while, for like 5 days or some shit like that, with nonstop worship. Now, why did I bring up the Asbury revival? Well, there was a controversy over it, and part of the controversy was they had brown people leading worship. Part of the controversy was there were LGBT people leading worship. Now the students were bragging about it. The students were like, "Look at everybody together leading worship," right? But then the people were like, "No, you can't have you." What? So my point is, even this is not helpful for us, because if we go with her version of Christianity, we're gonna be like, good, women can be pastors, and queer people, y'all are good in the church, and oh, cool, y'all want to be diverse. That's all well and good. But again, they're gonna turn up and start bashing and beating all that down. And again, I'm not gonna know how to decide who the correct Christians are.
Exactly.
What I do know is the ones who say women shouldn't be positions of leaders, you should take your slaves from the heathens among you, and all this separatist bullshit, and for a man to lie with men is abomination and all that. They're gonna be pointing to the book, right? Saying this is what it says to be biblical. Yep. You guys are going to be sitting there going, this is what it means to be Christian. And how do we know that? We just do, because Jesus loved everyone. Like, it's hard. It's. But
there's a line, there's a verse in that Bible to back almost any claim you want to make.
Any claim.
I remember, and boy, do I regret this one. Matt Dillahunty versus Cliff Connectley. Both of those suckers are within driving distance of me, so I think that's why I took interest in it. And y'all know Matt's big thing is slavery, because it is not up for debate. The Bible endorses it, tells you how badly you can beat them. It is as clear gets, no matter how much a Christian wants to sit here and tell you took it out of no. God endorses and gives a thumbs up to slavery. Cliff Connectley found, I'm trying to remember in what book of the Bible it was, but there is a single verse that this dude tells this cat, okay, you escaped slavery, now go back in there and pull everyone out. There's one sentence. Cliff hangs his hat on that, saying, see, God does not like slavery. So that's because what I'm saying. Yeah, there's that one funky ass line where one dude, who was not under direction of God, by the way, one dude told another dude, bring all the slaves with you. And so again, the Bible wars, and you're right, Leviticus 18:22 is clear on what to do with homosexuals. I think it's 2 Timothy, very clear that women should not have leadership over men.
Right.
And it's not up for debate. So yeah, it's like, who's the right Christian?
Right. I don't know.
To me, there's no such thing. Because each side can pull a line out of that Bible that backs their claim and say, see, I've got biblical backing for my claim.
And this is why we got to start talking more about commitment to Christianity. Because to me, I think the issue I would say with this pastor is she is either painfully unaware of apologetics or is pretending not to be. But at some point, somebody needs to hit her with basically, are you just outright committed to Christianity, right? Because it's this thing where if your potential solutions only involve Christianity, like if you literally can't go outside of that, then I kind of need to know that up front. In other words, I hate to say it, but this woman to me is basically an apologist, right? She's going to do everything she can to paint Christianity in a bright light, to twist and contort whatever she's got to do, because she needs to maintain the fact that she's a Christian. And no matter what, Christianity has to somehow be basically the solution to this Christian nationalist problem. Yep. And that to me just puts you in apologetics territory, because for most secular people, if you want to really talk about problems that Christianity is causing, we're not going to reach to Christianity to solve those problems. And to me, I need people like her to be a little bit more upfront with me, you know, exactly what agenda they're carrying. But again, this is why I don't think you can work with pastors to address
No, you cannot.
the problem.
Should we be?
Yeah, I hate that, because I'm like, yeah, I want a revival. Like, I want a good
There you
revival.
Like, I want a good
want
revival.
it to be, you know, that there is this sense for hope, and like, I think that it's just so depressing for me as like a person of faith to hear that language said with an ominous tone, and this sense that a revival will.
Here's a quick one though, gang. This is the test. Let's all do this thought experiment. I just want her to do her revival in her progressive urban part of Minneapolis. All about it. Let's go go Gophers. What's going to happen is her revival is going to be one of the good ones. It's going to be sexy and vibrant, quote unquote good ones. It's going to have women in positions of leadership. The music is going to be good because the black people are going to be there. There's actually going to be some good gospel music, not just that dry ass CCM bullshit. You know, our LGBT fam, they're all going to be participating. That bitch is going to look like a pride parade, just walked up in the church. It's going to be great. But you know what's going to happen? As soon as she takes her monkey ass out to her rural congregation and starts talking about her sexy and vibrant revival and showing the pictures of exactly who was there and what was going on, they're going to sit here and tell her, you have not started a revival. You just threw a motherfucking con for Satan. You have fallen to the woke agenda. You like, I mean, this is, they're like, this is not only is this not biblical, this is literally evil. You have women up there leading. What is this charismatic music? You got them jungle bunnies up in the church jiving. You got trans and queer people celebrating, coming in the church with rainbow flags. You let the rainbow flags in the church?
Yep.
I mean,
that's what I've noticed, like with Vodi Bakum. At the end of the day, if you have friends, you are not doing Christianity right. You have got to be the ugliest person in the room. And the only people, that you can associate with are the people that go to your exact same church, who hold your exact same beliefs. Again, the only way to be a Christian, quote unquote, is to be the ugliest person in the room. And you're right. She'll sit here and tell you my version of Jesus is okay with that trans kid going forward in the process. That's what Jesus would want. She's one. How many millions of Christians will now tell her she's sexualizing kids, you're a pedophile, this is demonic, this is evil, and the blase and the Clavinoid?
Yeah.
She's not ugly enough.
And I don't want to tell
as a person to be a Christian. She's not.
They would be like, I don't want to tell her she's going to hell, but you realize there's an extra position, there's an extra responsibility for those who put themselves in positions of leadership and then do the devil's work. Like, they're basically going to tell her, what? You're a woman pastor with an open church? Oh, you're definitely going to hell. Sorry. You get the you go to hell in the express lane.
Why are you not? Why are you? There's pregnant and barefoot status waiting for you. Why are you talking? Why when a man is sitting right there? Yeah.
Yes.
Again,
yes.
Her former Christianity is not. That's, I guess, and the fucked up thing is, again, we can't stop these cats from believing what they believe. The sad part is her niceness is not associated with actual Christianity. Again, Durbin does it all the time. Oh, you're a sack of shit that's going to burn in hell. But I say that with love. I say that with love and respect.
Right.
Again, she's not ugly enough to be a Christian. She's nice. She's not condemning anyone to hell for immutable characteristics.
Right.
She's way too accepting. And did we already mention at the beginning of the show? She squats to pee and has the audacity to have a position of leadership. So, I mean, sadly, her version of Christianity isn't the one that's acceptable.
Yep. Unfortunately, yeah. I'm with you on
bring punishment and danger for others rather than a spiritual awakening for yourself, which would would hope would be the goal of revival. Yeah, and I think again it's that pairing of that kind of rhetoric with the storing up of weapons, the increased availability of especially deadly weapons. I had a member of my church out in rural Minnesota who's serving on the township board, and he told me they've got militias coming to visit them saying, this is what you need to do to amend the Constitution or secede from the U.S.
Jesus,
and they're dead serious about it. So I think that there is no limit to the level of rhetoric anymore, and at some point things, I think, will explode. And we've seen that even just in the case of some of the mass shootings that have happened because of people being encouraged by this kind of rhetoric.
Where does the love or attraction to conspiracy theories come from? And when you talk about militias, I immediately think of the conspiracies that draw people to that. Obviously, this is an issue within the veterans community, but I think some people are gonna wonder if it's just a news ecosystem thing, or if there's something more fundamental in the mode of thinking that takes hold after a while in these MAGA churches that opens the mind up to these kinds of outlandish QAnon conspiracy theories.
Well, I'll give you two perspectives. The first thing I thought about from a Christian lens is this history of Gnosticism, Gnost.
Yep.
Yeah. So this sense that, everybody wants to believe we have access to the secret truth and only we have access to it and only we know. And other people don't know. And there you can see that with, the kinds of TV shows.
I just, yeah. But I have such a hard time hearing this from a Christian.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. But that, is that not their whole song and dance?
Pretty much, yeah. I was going to say, there's no nice way to spin this. There's no nice way to spin this. And again, her, and I can't remember the other dude's name from Burn the Boats, they, according to them, are the right kind of Christians.
Yeah, this is Angela. I forgot her name too. Angela.
Yeah, Angela. Okay, let's sit Angela down and let her listen to one of my shows on Bauckham and Paul Washer, right? And say, gay is bad, trans is bad. Oh, what's that? You're not a Christian? Fuck you. Enjoy hell, buddy. It's going to suck the left nut. She would sit here and tell us, well, they took that all out of context. Again, yes, she has got the secret, sauce. She's got a direct pipeline to Jesus himself.
Right.
He's telling her, girl, you got it right.
Right.
Oh, you'll never guess
exactly.
what.
She has
Bodie
the correct
Bauckham,
interpretation.
You've got it right. Jeff Durbin, you've got it right. Eric Hovind, you got it right.
Absolutely.
Every Christian is the one who is right, while that sucker over there is the one who's doing it wrong. The ones who sit here, fuck it. The Ku Klux Klan. The Ku Klux Klan is a Christian organization, gang. They light the matches. They light the cross to illuminate Jesus's path back to the earth. I'm not bullshitting. Look that shit up. Ask any Klans member, did you get it wrong? Just make sure you ask that from across the street where the running heads start. They all think they've got it right.
Exactly.
So,
and Lena said
the boats the same way.
A few minutes ago. Lena said a little bit ago, I remember thinking I would never stop following Jesus as a Christian. I wish someone had told me how scary that thinking is. Lena, I didn't have a way to just interrupt and address it at the moment, but I just wanted to highlight that comment. Because I think this is something we need to ask more up front. And all right, so here's the comment again, gang. I remember thinking I would never stop following Jesus as a Christian. I wish someone had told me how scary that thinking is. We need to turn that into a question. And I'm trying to think of what that question would be.
Like, it's a question, something like when you're talking to somebody, you ask, can you ever see yourself not being a Christian? You know, could you see your life can you imagine your life without Christianity? This type of stuff. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's a good question there to ask people. Because then you can follow it up with like, hey, that's, you know, that might be a little concerning to me because, you know, yeah, but it's a great question. All right, let's keep rolling.
It is.
Those that are popular, or, you know, Trump really played on a lot of that as well. Like, well, I know, you know, these secrets that nobody else knows. So I think there's just an innate human attraction to that. Of course.
Oh, also Cronkomatic said the final answer to them is always Armageddon. So if I would
100%.
say start sometimes with the question like, you know, Lena's like, hey, could you ever see yourself without Christianity? Don't ever end the conversation without going to the end. And sometimes I'm the type I want to start up front with the end, like, because again, what happens after revival? Oh, you want a good revival? Good. I'm an atheist. I don't want a revival. So what is this revival supposed to be? Like, you know, your Christianity spreading all over. I don't, doesn't sound like a good idea to me. But again, like, most Christians, what happens in the end? Like, it's a fair question to ask them, what do you think's going to happen to me after I die? Right? It's also a fair question to ask, do you think Jesus is coming back? Cool. What happens to non-believers like me when he comes back? You know, like, dancing around this bush gets so annoying.
I've asked that question 1,000,000 times.
And they don't want to answer it.
Well, and when they do, their answer is sitting on some bullshit. There's one lady who I have 100% given up on, and not that I was expecting anything different, but again, it's like, do you consider me your friend? Well, yeah. Well, you're a Christian and I am not. If I have a stroke and die right here on the spot, I'm going to die, and I'm going to die in what you would call a state of sin, friend. What's going to happen to me? Won't answer it. Well, Robert, you're going to become a Christian. That wasn't the fucking question. There's no nice way to spin Christianity. You cannot defend that which is indefensible. At the end of the day, this is the ultimate Sith philosophy. If you are not with me, then you are my enemy. And if you were to press this lady, Angela, to Christianity's only logical conclusion, you, me, Bundy, everyone in the side chat, we are fucked, son. We are fucked. And there's no nice way to put it. There's no nice way to put it. Yeah.
Exactly.
Of course, Jesus really challenges that notion. when Jesus says, I've come to save the world. Jesus never said that he came to save a select small group of people.
That's not true. That's not true.
But there's a sense, and I know
that is not true.
Yeah,
John
she's remixing.
3:18. Yes, yeah, totally. This is the disco remix. Absolutely. With a little fucking dubstep. John 3:16 says, come one, come all. John 3:18 says, if you do not juggle my nuts all in your mouth, you are fucked, son. That's what I'm saying. This is why I don't do Bible wars.
Yes.
You know, Jesus didn't say I came to save a select few. No, actually, Angela, that is exactly what he said. He's only here, or he's only going to save those that just want to sit here and buy a lifetime supply of chapstick and knee pads.
Exactly.
That's it. Everyone outside of that. So what she just said, factually in error.
Narrow is the way. I mean, this is just she's just reimagining Christianity on the fly.
Go through this in my own faith journey of like, oh, if Jesus came for everybody, doesn't it mean that I matter less? And that's the contrast between, you know, what we've taught as Americans of this sense of scarcity and what Jesus offers, which is a sense of abundance.
Oh, okay. Also, yeah, this is just deep off the cult, the cult deep end. Like, I don't want Jesus. And I know there are so many Christians, they just get up on Sunday morning and the only thing they need to do more than spend time with Jesus is tune into the Blackout to hear me and Uncle Bobby rake them over the coals about Christianity. But to all the Christians that are listening, I need you to stop talking like this. This is scary. This doesn't sound appetizing to me, to have Jesus come for everyone and Jesus will save us all and then we can all be Christians and then we can all live according to the Bible. It's scary. It's just very scary. It's very scary. I very much see them now like the brown shirts when they knock on your door, like, please get your scary ass out of my neighborhood.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And then, like, from a journalistic lens, gosh, you know, I think the American media ecosystem has to take a good long look in the mirror when it comes to the growth in conspiracy theories. American media companies have done a huge amount of damage to credibility and a huge amount of damage to, you know, people's trust in the news. And they've sort of sacrificed that really willingly on, you know, what story is going to get the most clicks, or how are we going to be the most obnoxious, or, you know, and I just think that's been really short-sighted, and it's been the sense of an industry sort of flailing with the end of the dominance of print media, trying to find its way, and also elevating folks that maybe had some celebrity, maybe had some access, but really didn't have the journalistic training or chops, to earn the trust that news folks had been afforded by Americans for so many years.
How much
All that
sway
commentary
does
was on point.
mainstream media still have in these communities, or even fringe media? My assumption would be that the pastor or the religious leaders in that community have far more influence. And if they say the sky is falling, it doesn't matter what's happening outside. A lot of those people in church are going to believe it regardless of what the media says.
So here's the deal. Local pastors are kind of hamstrung. It's the Joel Osteens. It's the guy they're hearing on, you know, national media. It's the, you know, Robert Jeffress in Dallas. It's the Falwells. There's so many national Christian celebrities at this point.
All right, here's another thing I'll bring out, and this is going to get a little nuanced, gang, so try to stick with me here, but there's also some demographic differences going on. All right, so let's just say generally, you know, she's doing the Minneapolis thing, her congregation's a little more metropolitan, a little bit more urban, a little bit more progressive, right? Well, part of that dynamic is even if they are Christians and they do go to church, they don't really follow the pastor, right? Like the pastor's just somebody they want to have like a nice sermon on Sunday, maybe a nice little sermon series or whatever, right? But they don't lean on the pastor as like the source of authority in their life, right? Pastors aren't leaders in the world, right? So they're still tuning into whatever news, they still get their education, they still, you know, right? The pastor's just a pastor to them, right? You're just a talking head on Sunday morning. When you go to those other demographics, you're dealing with people more hardcore on the right, you know, they totally tune out from news and everything's, you know, more of that Greg Locke tip. Part of the difference there is they lean more heavily on the authority figures in their life, right? So, so those pastors have an outside influence. So part of the frustration with dealing with a pastor like this is, like, not only is her sort of progressive version of Christianity not carrying the weight in society we would like it to, she, even as a progressive pastor, doesn't carry weight in the progressive community the same way conservative pastors carry weight in conservative communities. So she's also not helping there. Like, we would consider her more of a progressive leader even right now in this conversation. If she has some journalistic credit, if she has some historical background, like if she has something to bring to the table other than I'm a pastor who's willing to call out Trumpists, right? Like, so you see the difference there? Yeah.
Yeah, well, I think if I'm following you, she's in no man's land.
Right.
Right? It's like, God, I hate myself for being. We always was like, man, don't be that guy. Don't be that guy. We all end up turning into that guy. The guy talks about his fucking football career. But we call it no man's land. You're not helping us. You're useless. So if you're going to make a mistake going 100 miles an hour. Right? If you lost containment, fuck it, just go underneath the tide and see if you can blow some shit up. Right? And so, yeah, she does not have, as if I'm following what you're saying, she does not have as much pull in the liberal and progressive church and that movement as the conservative cats do
100%
in theirs.
100%.
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying. She's useless.
Right.
Because she is not committed. None of these progressive pastors are, they're just not ugly enough. Man, I remember watching that as much as I could between Durbin, and I can't remember what Brandon's last name is. Brandon's a pastor and he's gay. And I only know this because he said it.
About it, yeah.
He's got tens of thousands of dollars worth of college loan debt because he went to a biblical college and he studied that this word means this in English and translate it. And he's sitting there battling Durbin. Right? And it's like, no, the Bible is not the literal word of God. It's all kinds of fucked up, twisted, and translated. And we have to go bit by bit. Durbin much told him, you're an apostate. You're going to burn in hell. Enjoy sucking dick with the rest of, the sodomites. You're terrible, right? If you sat 10 Christians down and let them listen to that, 9 of them would probably agree with fucking Durbin. Again, she's in no man's land. Brandon is in no man's land.
Right.
They're too fucking nice.
Right.
They're too fucking
They're
nice.
a
right.
positive influence in a way that isn't influential in the communities they're in. Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, you cannot make positive that which is inherently negative.
Yeah. Carrie Ann,
Christianity is negative. I was
going to say, Carrie Ann brought up one that, like, in rural areas, pastors come to your house for visits. You see them at the gas station, the post office, the store. Right? They're a big part of your life. Yeah, that's just exactly what we're talking about.
Yeah.
All right, let's roll this tape.
That people trust, and I don't remember. I feel like there has been studies that have documented this. You'd have to look at somebody like Ryan Burge, who keeps track of a lot of that, or Robert Jones, the RPPI religious polling. But local pastors, and again, there's this distancing, right? As churches get larger, people don't have that relationship that they once had with their local pastor.
Shit, someone's here. Hang on.
So instead, I think it's this Christian media ecosystem. It's this system of books. Caitlin Beatty recently wrote a book about, the celebrity culture in Christian media. All of that has had a huge influence, and I think much larger than that, of local congregations. As far as mainstream media, I read an article this week that was talking about, like, even though, people say cable news has diminished in popularity, if you look at the response to Tucker Carlson and to Don Lemon this week, you can still see there's a pretty big influence from these anchors. There's an influence from, even for, Donald Trump, like, he was very keyed into what Fox News was saying, what Fox News was doing, and CNN.
Right.
So I think it continues to wane, especially for younger folks. Maybe you look something more like YouTube.
Can you pause the tape? Can you hear me?
That's really driving opinion.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, I said if you're about to step, I was just going to... she's killing me. She's killing...
Do you want to wax for a couple? I just need 2 minutes to move a car.
Yeah, go ahead. I'm just saying... No, go ahead. Handle your business. We can roll and talk about it when you get back.
All right, yeah, let me just roll the tape, and I'll be right back. We'll finish this up.
Okay, go ahead. Yeah.
TikTok, to an extent as well. But it's certainly nothing to be written off. Yeah, I was on CNN for like 2 minutes, and it was by far the largest response I ever had to my book. So,
what does the future hold for Red State Christians? You've talked about the young people in the church. In my world, I'm a parent. I've got 3 kids. There isn't much attraction to that, but you're a pastor. You've been visiting these churches. Is there a draw there, or are the demographic trends inevitable, and this bunker mentality is just going to grow stronger and stronger as they feel more and more assaulted by the reality of where America is going?
Yeah, it's hard to say. First, I have 2 kids. I love kids. I think, there has to be more attention paid to the role of parenting in these dynamics, and the role of parents, the role of education. And again, I think there's so much attention put on parents who are wanting to ban books, or parents who are wanting to limit, treatment for trans kids and things like that. But there's not a lot of attention paid to, okay, but what are parents supposed to actually do then? How are we really supposed to engage with our kids who are facing this, especially boys? I have 2 boys, facing this media landscape that wants to appeal to them on a level of violence or masculinity. So I think that the future is sort of leaning in on the part, I do a lot of encouraging of local pastors. We hear a lot about these celebrity mega church pastors who are, driving around in their fancy cars or expensive sneakers or flying in private jets. The majority of pastors in this country are not at all wealthy, kind of barely making it month to month, wanting to do the best job that they can. And so I think that there's sort of a feeding into of let's not abandon our local congregations. Let's not abandon these places where community can happen across partisan lines. And let's, provide support for families who are often trying to do the best that they can and not necessarily wanting any kind of, political or partisan influences, but just to provide a safe place for their family and teach their kids to be loving and kind in some way.
Well, we can't ignore politics and partisanship because we're heading into 2024. How do you see the marriage between MAGA and evangelical Christianity playing out? There have been some, whispers, I won't say of divorce, but some dissatisfaction.
You can't.
Boy, this could be its own show, but the Dobbs decision and Trump's wavering on that.
Bundy Herping, come back. Pause the tape. We got to talk about this. Oh, perfect timing. Perfect timing.
Go ahead.
All right. Yeah, about his perfect timing. So, burning the boats, here, you can't, the marriage is inseparable. It cannot be dissolved. The MAGA movement has, like the blob, completely absorbed the evangelical side of Christianity. You cannot pull one away from the other now, not without killing one of them. And that's the problem. That's the problem. Again, she's not ugly enough. Burning the boats, he's not ugly enough. There's no way you can go out on the political realm and the social realm as a Christian and support what Target has done. You can't, because then you're not a real Christian. None of these cats have an ugly enough spirit to be what they need to be in terms of their Christianity. A couple shows ago when I did one on Brandon Tatum, right? He sat up there straight up. Sexual immorality, right? They hate God. And why? Because again, Target had the audacity to be inclusive. You didn't have to buy your kid a swimsuit that was tuck accessible. It's just, hey, if you need it, here it is for the low, low price of $19.95. Come and get some. If you support that as a Christian, you are not an actual Christian. And why? You are not ugly enough. So it's how do we move forward, with the marriage between the evangelical side of Christianity and MAGA? They're completely married. They will never get a divorce. It's got the biggest microphone, and that is Christianity. It's what we see in front of us, right? I didn't know who she was. No one will hear this message,
right?
Or at least not enough,
right?
But again, Robert Jeffers has been to the White House. Who's the fuck face? I'm looking right at him. But again, all these hardcore evangelicals, they've been to the White House. They've sat behind the Resolute desk. The progressive Christians, please notice how their monkey asses is nowhere near the White House. Christianity is what is put in front of us, and it is
absolutely
the uglier that you are, the more Christian you've become.
And I think that most people don't. I think you're exactly right, and I think that that's the problem. Essentially, Christianity is the problem, and very few people are willing to say it. And very few Christians are willing to say it. And when you start realizing that Christianity is the problem, you will lose your credibility with Christians because you'll no longer be a Christian. Welcome to our life.
Yeah.
Because, right, that's kind of how it goes. You realize Christianity is the problem. You're like, oh, I got it did.
I'm sick of it.
Then,
the gloves off.
then you leave Christianity. Yeah. Then Christians don't listen to a goddamn word you have to say from that point forward. But you're absolutely right. And here's the thing, too. Christianity weaponizes civility, right? So they are the nicest of the nice, the truthiest of the truth, the most honest people in the room. They are the most graceful of the grace. Like, so they just give you all of this nonsense, and it like builds up a shell. And then what happens is people are so afraid to criticize them, to speak truth to power, to tell them exactly what's up. And so you're right. To me, and I'm realizing this more and more, you have to just be willing to get ugly. You have to accept that there's really no nice way to fire somebody. You could take them to the nicest restaurant in town. You could, just take them out for a great adventure. At the end of the day, when you fire them, that's all they're going to remember. Matter of fact, they're going to be pretty insulted that you had the audacity to take them to a fucking theme park and a night out in the town just to tell them that they no longer had a fucking job to work at, right? Yep. So sometimes there's just no nice way to say what needs to be said. It just needs to get done. And I honestly just don't think most people are willing to do it without some kind of confrontation. And here's the other thing. When you start to do it, the ugliness on their side is going to come out. And this is what I've been dealing with my own family. You're going to realize that they're going to start the gaslighting. They're going to start playing the victim. They're going to get snarky. Like, it's really interesting. So we have to realize that all of that civility is a cult tactic, but it is very hard to work through.
No, it's impossible. Shit, or near impossible.
Yeah, but you're right. They're not. You gotta be willing to get in there.
Evangelical churches have entrenched even further. It's going to be more complicated than it was in 2016, right?
Oh yeah. I mean, in 2016, it was like, isn't this fun? Trump's running for president. This is funny.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think, I have a hard time. I think 2020, I have to believe 2020 was like the high point of Trump getting out his base as much as he could get out his base. All those folks came out to vote for Trump. And so whether Trump's the nominee or not, I think that, in my sense, that, and what, we've seen from political polling, that like high 30s%, that seems to be the ceiling, right, for this kind of mega movement. I just have a hard time seeing it go over that. But maybe I said that, before 2020, and then it went up again. So who knows?
Yeah, but it's not necessarily the people now who will identify it. And this is another thing. We have a second religion in this country for most of these people, and it's called republicanism, right? Like,
oh yeah.
And so it's not about how many people really support Trump. It's about, will Trump get the nomination? Right now, he's still the leading candidate. Indictments be damned. And if he gets the nomination, then all of those people who would rather die than vote Democrat, most of them are just going to vote for Trump. They'll complain about it. They'll say he wasn't the ideal candidate, blase and glavinoids, but they will absolutely take their monkey ass to that poll and vote for Trump.
Every time. Yep.
I think that as far as evangelical Christians, I think what we saw in 2020 is people who called themselves evangelicals went even harder for Trump than they did in 2016. But what you saw in general is that the share of the American electorate who considers itself evangelical is shrinking. That I don't see any dissipation in that trend. Another thing to watch is the decoupling of...
Damn. Hold on. Carrie Ann said there's 4.2 million participants in 9,521 churches in Michigan.
Oh, wow. I was not expecting her to say Michigan. Holy
Dang,
crap.
this is too much. That is too much Christianity.
So what?
Jesus.
And I believe that pastor from the ERLC at the Southern Baptist Convention told me this all the way back then, is when people are faced with a confrontation of this doesn't quite fit, the Jesus of the Bible and this violent rhetoric and this America first, when people are faced with a confrontation of this doesn't fit, they drop their faith. They don't drop their politics. And so I think what you'll see is people maybe leaning more into these fringe movements of, you even see sort of these Eastern religion type things, very not accurate.
Dude, the estimation is that there's basically 28,000 congregations in Texas.
Probably just within the city of Austin.
They said 27,848.
Jeez.
That was in 2000. It's from 2010. But that's
Still.
Think about what we're up against, y'all. Think about that is just.
I can't miss it.
But now, right? Now that's a vision. Now people know you're not bullshitting, right? 30,000 churches in one state. Yeah, you're driving down the street. It's like church, just everywhere.
I cannot drive a mile from my house to work without seeing a church.
Yeah.
And I live 8 miles away.
In any direction.
Yeah, and again, those are just the churches that I see. That's not the ones that's behind the building that I haven't noticed. I mean, it's ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous.
Absolutely. More churches than Starbucks.
But,
Pretty
in
much.
Sort of wellness communities, yoga, Eastern spirituality getting coupled with a mistrust of, American medical system, and then moving all these kind of groups kind of coming together around, I think Christianity, continues to be decentered in a lot of it. But even the definition of American Christianity continues to shift. What does that actually mean? It's become much more of a sociological distinction than a religious one.
Well, that observation that when faith and political identity are in conflict, you lose your faith. I haven't heard that before, and I find that really terrifying. But I guess it aligns with this other observation that a lot of militant Christians today, at least self-described Christians, they eschew church. They're not going to church.
Yeah.
It's part of their political identity more than a faith-bound identity, which is also scary, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I would love you to.
That's
to bring
a
us home.
lot of the people we deal with on YouTube. I call them internet Christians. They're really. They have no sense of congregation. For me and you, being a Christian, it was about having a relationship with Jesus and all that, but you went to church. You were part of a church, and that was a huge part of what it meant to be a Christian. You can call yourself a Christian and then sleep in on Sunday morning. But yeah, it's really weird because I think they're not really dealing with, they're not really understanding Christianity. Like I hear a lot of these dudes who talk about Christian from like a philosophical perspective or the evidential perspective and all of this shit, and I'm really going, y'all don't go to church. Y'all don't go to church because nobody believes this, nobody knows this, nobody cares. This isn't keeping anybody in Christianity, but they're doing some weird, man cave version of Christianity that isn't really based in.
But as long as they wear the label,
they're wearing the label. They're fighting. They're defending it. Yeah.
Yeah. I think we all know Christians that have not set foot in a church since forever.
Exactly.
But they're still part of the cool people's club. because they call themselves shit. I can still out Bible pretty much every Christian at my place of work that has attempted to convert me back to Christianity. Then you're like, well, when was the last time you went to church? Oh, well, there was that one time in 1987. Well, that was 100. But it's just like, and I'm asking, like, you think, oh God, it was, what was it? It was basically who betrayed Jesus. His name is synonymous with betrayal. And I still remember this one Christian who's been trying to get, this was a while back, couldn't get it.
Really?
And people were in the background. Yeah, people were holding up signs. Judas. she didn't even know the basics.
That's hilarious.
Right?
That's hilarious.
What's the first verse of the Bible? Who it just knows nothing about her faith, but she calls herself a Christian. See? So she gets to make the cut. Well, I'm fucked. And so again, yeah.
Right. That's what you mean by it requires absolutely no follow-up.
No, none at all. None at all. And she's just as Christian as the person who's there every Sunday without fail.
Right.
And if you ask her, are you the real Christian? She will say yes. Point out a Christian over there that believes in something that she doesn't agree with. She will tell me, Robert, that's not a real Christian.
Yeah. And what I'm waiting for is really a kind of mainstream turn. And it's becoming a bit more. So for instance, like Joy Reid lately has been like really close to saying it, but I don't think she's never get there. But she's like pointing out the problems with Christianity, the problems with, you know, the religious, you know, radicalization. But that's what it's going to take, right? It's going to take some kind of actual, you know, Christianity is not good for business type of mentality. But again, I don't think you're going to see that, right? I don't think that's permissible in America. But I do think that it's going to take real effort. It's going to take a massive effort, right?
You and I won't be alive to see that switch.
That's the reality. And I feel like people are okay with that. Like, I'm not okay with that, right? Like, I'm not okay with living my life in a Christian country for the rest of my life. I'm either trying to, A, get up out of here, or B, at least push back or try to do what I can to push this thing forward. Sure. I'm with you. If it's happening, it's not happening fast enough.
On a
we need an atheist revival, AR.
Is there anything that gives you hope for the future of the church writ large, the evangelical movement, the suspicion of the folks like Trump and the idolizing of celebrity? What are some positive signs you're seeing, if there are any?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I try to be cynical, but I come back around to hope eventually. I just can't help myself. I'm a longtime Minnesota sports fan, so I have to come back there. But I
would imagine it's also the journalist / pastor conflict, right? You have the cynical journalist and the hopeful pastor. I love it.
That's right. Yeah, and the sports fan who's just loves the under.
Uncle Bobby, by the way, we're doing really good on time. There's only 3 minutes left in this video. Something I want to say here is, because she mentioned hope. I'm gonna be a little bit naive here. It's not gonna kill us to have a soft spot. I'm optimistic about her. Something about Christians like her, even though I know she's a pastor, I'm not saying I would predict that she's going to deconvert, but I would say for people like her, I feel it's possible. I feel like she's one of those people who definitely has some human values And at the end of the day, she's trying to reconcile those within the Christian framework. She's not had the Christianity is the problem light bulb go off and then decided to do the double down. She's really like where probably a lot of us were, right? Where we were the good Christians. We were trying to get Christianity on the right side of history, assuming that that's where God wanted us and that must have been how Jesus intended us to live and all of this, right? So she's not in a hopeless place, and hopefully she represents a lot of Christians who are not in a hopeless place.
I could not agree more with that. I'm just a little bit more pessimistic than you are, clearly.
I say the odds are good, but it's possible.
Well, because my thing is, again, it's people like Angela, and I think you said his name was Mike. It's people like this that keep this bullshit rolling. I was once one of them. Right? Again, how easy is it for even Christians to ignore Steven Anderson? That you just the in your face, fuck you level assholes. The progressive Christians and the atheists, we hold that in common. We all look at Westboro Baptist, Waco, Texas, Children of God. We're like, what a bunch of set of fucking assholes. But those aren't the ones that are keeping Christianity rolling. She's got the nice smile.
Right.
Michael from Burn the Boats has got the nice smile. And you're right. These are the ones that are more likely to become atheists. But until they do, they are perpetuating the foolishness. Again, you said it earlier. Sit both of these two smiling people down. Be like, I am glad that we can call each other friend. Now, what's going to happen to me after I die?
Right.
According to your Bible, friend, what's going to happen to me? And at the end, it's one of two things. They'll come right out and say it, or they're going to sit here and do the fucking tap dance that they all fucking do. So again, they are the problem. Even though they're more likely to become one of us,
I agree.
They're the problem.
And the scary part is, and I learned from my own family, man, you don't know. Like it's real risky pushing it, right? Like, I like to think I was one of those Christians who, like Lena said, if somebody would have really made me realize that I could not see myself outside of my Christian identity and then, massaged me into understanding how problematic that was, I like to think I would have started my deconversion process a lot earlier. Matter of fact, if people really want to know why I love the Uncle Bobbies of the world and why I'm so critical about why I'm so direct about you need to stop being a Christian, all that, it's really not because I'm an asshole. It's because I wish somebody told me sooner. I wish somebody cared enough to be like, yo, Jay, that Christianity, yo, that's some bullshit, man. I really like you. You deserve better for your life.
Yeah.
But anyway, like, in the interim, you're absolutely right that these are the people carrying water for the faith. They're the people making it socially acceptable. They're having these liberal churches that are keeping people under the wing. And I hate to say this too, there's a lot of shit in there that I don't like. Like, I feel like, for instance, if you have a congregation that has a female pastor, when they start to boast about having a female pastor, it's like it's revealing that they're very well aware that there's something a little off or unusual about having female leadership. They're just sort of righteous enough to do it anyway. And I hear the same thing with like talk of family values or LGBTQ accepting churches. It's sort of like, oh yeah, well, we know the book says what it says, but we love them anyway. And that kind of spills over into the relationships, right? Like that speaking in tongues, baby.
I was
you
trying
too,
not to laugh
man,
at that
love
too.
you. But it's like, it's sort of like, you don't really think there's quote unquote nothing wrong with the LGBTQ fam. You just love them in spite of what the book says is wrong about it. Do you see what I'm saying? Like that, it's not a real path to equality, and I don't know. Anyway, that's just a thing that gets me.
I dig it.
Underdog. So yeah, I think I see some positive trends in the work of within evangelical Christianity, Kristen Dumais, author of Jesus and John Wayne, and then also Beth Allison Barr, who's done a lot of writing, her recent book on the role of women in the church. And I think those two together, along with somebody like Beth Moore, have kind of opened a space within evangelicalism to challenge some of these long-held idols that hadn't been yet smashed, whether it's the idol of like complementarianism and these strictly defined gender roles in the church. And I think that's really encouraging. And these are voices coming from within evangelicalism. I also just recently read a book that's coming out soon, telling the stories of survivor stories of those who suffered abuse in the church. And I think that, these stories finally being told and heard is so critical. And then, closer to home, like I said, I love kids. I recently left my congregation in January just because the commute was too much for my family and I. But the kids of that church, they just have my heart. I mean, they are such great kids. They were so involved. And this was a church that was very multi-generational. So you've got grandparents, great-grandparents, uncles, aunts, cousins.
So this is my issue. And for lack of a better term, no fault to those parents. But it made me think of some shit when I was listening to like Vodi Bakum and other discussions I've gotten into with other Christians. Again, according to the Bible, a 6-month-old who dies of SIDS is going to go to hell. Fuck all your excuses, age of accountability. Again, and I love it how we're all born sinners except for toddlers and infants. Right? And so when I hear Christians say, at least on this side of the discussion, now that I'm a non-believer, I love kids, 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 I love kids. You eventually, you're in your walk as a Christian parent, whether you come right out and say it, or it's kind of hidden underneath, well, he loves you, he loves you, he loves you. Eventually, a parent has got to tell their child, you ain't shit. You are garbage. You are the lowest form of bullshit that has ever bullshitted. You are so terrible. Right. You deserve to be tortured. But the good news is a dad had to kill his son because that's how fucked up you are. Now, as we sit here and we talk about this as adults, that's one thing. But the cycle of generational trauma, the abuse that gets handed down. And again, Mike over here, Angela over there. Oh, I love kids. I love kids. I love kids. I love kids. They love their kids so much that they sugarcoated it. No question about it. They love those kids so much that they told those kids, you are worthy of the worst treatment around.
Yeah, it is.
Now, you need to be thankful that God killed his son for you, murdered him. Fuck the oh, he crucified his son because we weren't worthy. A father murdered his son, gang. That's how fucked up you have to tell your kids they are. So every time I hear a Christian say, I love kids, it's like, yeah, you love them so much that will always bother.
It almost becomes a joke. Like, again, it's the gang. I can't believe I used to be a Christian. Because you realize that I can't imagine a more immoral character. I can't imagine a more immoral message. I really started to think of this when I started to ask myself the question of what is the moral of the story? You know how Christians are always telling you, well, it's a metaphor. And you gotta look for the moral of the story. Well, what exactly is the moral of the story? Because at some point, does the moral story become, Jewish blood magic in sacrificing an innocent person, for the salvation because God just couldn't forgiveness? Like gang, what? And again, Christians, you're so happy about sacrifice, but true grace is exactly the opposite of requiring sacrifice. Like, you know,
Yep.
if you mess something up, you know, you're supposed to take out the garbage, you know, you forget to take out the garbage and your partner has to do it. You know, do you want them to just forgive you and say, oh, it happens, everybody forgets, you know, a chore once in a while, now let's go make love? Or do you want to say, carry your monkey ass to the store right now, get all my favorite ingredients, make me my favorite meal right the fuck now, then run me a bubble bath, then what when they send you on
Where is
100
this
errands,
okay?
how does that become grace and forgiveness? No, it is just, I had to just serve you and lick your booty hole and sacrifice and sacrifice and sacrifice so that you would forgive me for a minor offense. That is not grace, gang. So
not even close.
It's
not
the worst.
Even close.
But I want to touch on the indoctrination real quick because I think that's a super important point. Hang on a sec. I got me a. We should always have the indoctrinate children. I don't know where I went. All right. Anyway, like the thing for me is I'm thinking about the war on the LGBTQ community.
Oh yeah.
And how much. Let's say I think that introducing third graders to the idea that, you know, some people see themselves as boys, there are girls, there are people who see themselves as both, people who see themselves as neither, and people who don't even want to have the conversation. And all that stuff is sexy and vibrant, right? That's actually an essential part of a child's education. You need to learn how to get along with people that are different than you. Yeah, there's people called women. There's these, you know, they're good to go. There's people with different faiths. They're good to go. All that shit is essential. You know what's not essential? So, you know, Rib Woman and Dirt Man fucking ate the fruit after the snake juke stepped Eve, right? And so thanks you to Punk, right? And so now, you know, we're all doomed to go to hell because of sin, but then Jesus had to come. Like none of that shit is essential. It's all harmful. It's absolute complete indoctrination. And so I just want to say for the record, like that's part of the problem is you're right. These people want to continue. Again, like you said, I want there to be a good revival. Gang, that just means they want to make more Christians, right? They want to elevate Christianity. They want everybody celebrating Christianity, running. They basically want a revival basically means they want people running up and down the streets praising Jesus. Just praising Jesus in the morning and in the noon and in the evening. I mean, it's just a hard pass on all of that.
Absolutely hard. There's no nice way to spin any of this crap. No nice way.
You know, large farm families, and these kids were just there week in, week out. And my confirmation class, I've got a painting that one of them made me up on the wall. And they were so willing to like have hard conversations. We went through COVID together. They were with me when my brother-in-law died of COVID. And so seeing and how central that church remained in this rural community, it was a lot of hope. You know, in the midst of some challenge and some hard times, I see that love like can conquer a lot, and this willingness to love and to trust one another can do some pretty amazing things.
No, I couldn't agree more. I was lucky enough to interview Mike Gerson before he passed, and he kept going back to that. And we had Jim Obergefell on who talked about empathy as the secret weapon. Well, it's been great having you. I am fascinated by this subject, but I want to move the needle. You mentioned Kristen Dumais. She's coming on a little bit later, and we'll keep revisiting this because it's not only fascinating, but all important for the future of our democracy. Thank you so much for joining.
All right, now we made it through, gang. Yeah. Good job. So one thing I want to mention here is that it's interesting in light of Trump's town hall, right? So Trump did a town hall with CNN. You know, that was bullshit. You talked about it actually on your channel. And actually, I want to review, like, I want to do members only. I want to review Marjorie Taylor Greene did like a 60 Minutes, and also Mike Pence has a town hall coming up. So it's really interesting because there was a lot of blowback, like, why are you providing platform for this type of thing? So it's interesting because I consider the Midas Touch network to be like really progressive. Like they do really good pro-democracy content. Their stuff's, it's pretty clear where they're at on most things. They do a lot of great legal analysis and coverage. And so there's sort of a way in which I can understand people who, I can understand that and maybe I'm feeling it a bit myself, where there's this frustration where it feels like even the left and the progressives are sort of carrying water for the, let's put a happy face on Christianity. And I think that's right, and that's kind of the same CNN thing, right? Like you're carrying water for the other side. Let's sit down. Let's talk this out. And so I don't know where people are at with that, because at the same time I'm like, I don't think they said much that I would consider inflammatory. And also she's obviously here to be a progressive.
Green and Trump, or
no, sorry. These two. On the Midas touch, right? I'm saying it's not quite the same thing, right? And I think like she is making this appearance here to call out Christian nationalism and push back from a pastor. Like I don't think there's anything unreasonable about it, but it's just interesting because that's kind of the space we're in now, where you've got to be really careful about who you put on your platform and what the takeaway message is. And I'm feeling like part of this is making me realize, a lot of these Midas touch people on the left, I bet you they're still kind of see themselves maybe as progressive Christians, and they'd like to, or they'd at least like to keep progressive Christians on board. It was just interesting. But I personally don't feel like it was irresponsible or anything like that. She was here with a good message, and
I 100% see why you would give someone like Angela a platform. I'm just over here being a hypercritical son of a bitch.
Exactly. 100%. That's exactly how I feel.
There's absolutely no need to put a microphone in front of the face of Marjorie Taylor Greene. There's no need to give a platform to Trump, to Pence, to any of these assholes. We already know what they're about, and what they're about is sitting on some bullshit. Angela and Mike, again, if your Jesus makes you saying do good things, I like your Jesus.
Yeah.
I like their Jesus. I do. The problem is, again, Angela will never be invited to the White House.
Right.
Mike will never be invited to the White House. But you know who does get invited?
Right.
Robert Jeffers.
Right. Paula White.
Paula White. In order to be the type of Christian that gets quote unquote mainstreamed. No, not quote unquote. That gets, because again, you are not the fringe kind of Christian if you are being invited to 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue. Paula White has been proven to be a crook and a charlatan. She was Donald Trump's advisor. You can't be fucking serious. Exactly. And the reason why the Paula Whites have the platform is because she stands on the backs of the Mikes and the Angelas. Now, again, I like what they're saying. I'm picking up what they're putting down. But they have to understand that they're part of the problem. Because, again, there's no nice way to spin the product they're selling. So at the end of the day, you, me, everyone in the side chat, 1.5 billion people in India, how many Muslims, we are all fucked. And there's no nice way to spin it. So yes, I agree with everything. I think I said this 2 weeks ago on this show. We are going to agree with everything that Mike and Angela have to say. Absolutely. But ... they're part of the problem.
Yeah, and that's exactly what it was. And that's exactly what it was. Yeah. I the other thing I wanted to ask you about this, where do you see Christianity going? Because there was a time where I was trying to figure out how Christianity kind of becomes progressive, right? Because they seem to adapt everything, right? They've most Christians have adapted to evolution, and they adapt to science, and now they're, adopting to the different social movements. So does there come a point where they sort of just give up the ghost and say, okay, we're not really about taking the Bible literally. We don't even know if Jesus' whole deal was literal, but it's all about intentional community or whatever. I used to be optimistic about that. I'm not anymore, because I think what we're seeing even now, and just like we see with social issues, is that the violent backlash from the hardcore conservatives is just going to push people out the door ultimately.
Oh, yeah.
Like, they're not going to tolerate you trying to make Christianity progressive, and then eventually all the progressive are just going to leave, because they're just going to realize it's
That's
not
why
happening.
I say you and I will not be alive to see this change. And again, the only way progressive Christianity has any kind of voice or validity is to take what's in the Bible and completely mutate it.
Right.
And I hate saying this out loud. I agree with Jeff Durbin.
Yeah,
the Brandon guy who sat there and said Jesus loves gay people. No, he doesn't. No, he doesn't. And again, the kinder, gentler Jesus that everyone loves to Jesus Christ was a fucking asshole. Just so you guys know.
Absolutely.
I put him in the same vein as a Mother Teresa.
Oh,
Mother Teresa was terrible, gang. She was horrible. She's a saint. Jesus Christ, the character, terrible. Right. I mean, his quote unquote good is so accepted. I know atheists who will sit here and say, "I wish I was like Jesus." I'm like, why? I disagree with people all day long. And I just say, I don't agree with you. What I don't do is beat the shit out of them.
Right.
That was Jesus's message. Again, Angela, she straight up lied.
Absolutely.
Jesus was here for everybody, not according to John 3:18.
Right.
Not according to Revelation, not according to the foundational pillar that is Christianity. And that is, if you do not tongue my dirty booty hole, fuck it.
Right.
You have no idea how bad this is going to hurt.
And please notice how none of the other Christians seem to agree with you about Jesus coming for everybody. And this is another thing that kills me with this is, and I've been thinking about this more and more, nobody takes on extra responsibilities without extra benefits. Like, there's no way I'm going to say, hey, Robert, we're elevating you to a management position. You are now responsible for doing your job and supervising all these people, making sure they have their benefits, making sure they get their paychecks. And you're like, oh, cool. So I get some extra vacation time? No. So I'm getting a different benefits package? No. All right, so cool. Y'all know what time it is. Time for that raise, baby. It's time for that. No. You're not getting a raise. No. You
get none of that.
You get none of that. Like, that's what Christians are telling us. They're essentially telling us that they're living these biblical lives. They're following all these rules. They're giving 10% of their money to the church. They're getting up every Sunday to go, right? And they're doing all that for no benefits. At the end of the day, Jesus loves everybody. So as long as you're good in your heart, you're going to go to heaven because Jesus came for everybody. So really, they're just playing out all of these extra responsibilities that they have as God's people, but they're doing it just for fun. And a lot of Jewish apologists say the same thing, right? That being a Jew, being God's chosen people, it really just means that God put a bunch of extra rules on you. He has more expectations from you. It doesn't mean that you're better than everybody else. And I'm like, again, nobody takes on extra responsibilities without extra benefits. And so that's where they're telling on themselves. They are doing all those things because they believe ultimately that the reward is going to go to the Christians and only the Christians who Christian the right way, which is why they make all of those sacrifices to Christian the right way. They take on all those extra responsibilities to make sure that they get those rewards that nobody else who didn't take on all those responsibilities gets. And so it is just completely ridiculous when they try to act like Jesus came for everybody. You would not be sitting your ass in church every Sunday if that was true. It's 100% a lie. 100% a lie.
I've been told to my face by Christians that even as an atheist, I'm going to go to heaven. So what's the point of being a Christian?
Exactly.
Right? And they're like, It's like, so, okay, friend, again, when I die, I'm going to go to hell. Right? I was like, oh, no, Rob, you're going to go to heaven. Have you read your Bible at all? Because it specifically says, I don't. No, Robert, I believe you're going to go to heaven. You know I'm an atheist, right? Oh, God's going to take you into heaven. Right. Then why are you a Christian? Why do you self-flagellate when you look at someone you want to fuck them and you're not married to them? Why do you make yourself feel bad because you saw something nice that didn't belong to you and now you want it? Right. If I'm going to get the exact same benefit, right? Again, the person with the 200 credit score is not going to get the same credit card as the person with the 810, right? Right. And if they do get the same, same rewards on airline ticket, all this crap, then what's the point of having an 810 credit score? Exactly. And I can just sit here and bomb my credit underneath the sewer. Then why did I work hard and save? Why did I take financial literacy courses? And so, again, oh no, Robert, you're going to go to heaven. Then why bother being a Christian? Absolutely. So again, there's no nice way to spin this crap. There's absolutely no nice way. Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah, man. So what? We've got as much time as you got here, we're good to go. We made it. I'm so happy we made it. We're getting better. We're getting better at time. I want it. I definitely. This is tough. This is a meaningful conversation. And it's like I said, we think it's good to have conversations with her, and who knows, we don't think people like this are hopeless, right? I would say they're definitely trying to be part of the solution. We just have, disagreements on what the solutions actually are. My thing is, I'm about direct confrontation. I don't think there's any way you get through to somebody like Angela unless you really let her know, I'm sorry, but Christianity really is the problem. And more to the point, I think even somebody like this probably recognizes, and I'm gonna keep it real with you. I'm gonna bet that Angela is married to a Christian. Oh God. And absolutely. I'm also gonna guess that Angela is probably unwilling to knowingly consider marrying somebody who's not a Christian. No, right? Now, for me, this is gonna sound real weird, y'all, but this created a real fucked up situation with my mother. Because I believe that old school narrative that deep down in their heart, every mom wants to raise a boy who, when, somebody rolls up and says, oh my goodness, I have this beautiful daughter and it's crazy. She just maybe happens to be around your son's age, but I just haven't been able to find her anybody. She's just had her heart broken so many times. Hold the phones right there. Oh, you don't know? Oh, my son is single. What? Let me call my son right now. My son, wait till she meets my son. Oh, you talking about a good man? Oh, yeah. What? I raised him. Are you kidding me? Come on, he signed, sealed, delivered. Let's go, right? Think about this, y'all. My mother can't do that for herself. My mother raised this son who she now cannot endorse marrying a man like that. Why? Because he's a heathen. Yeah. He's a heathen. So literally, when my mom tells her story about how she met her husband and what a great guy, oh yeah, he had a wonderful voice and he was so handsome and responsible, and boy, oh man, I required a man who was serious about their relationship with the Lord. I was not gonna deal with that again. And he is when I tell you he is a God-fearing man, right? And so what I'm hearing is, oh yeah, so fuck me, I'm a fucking sack of shit. God damn, no good women should marry me, huh? My heathen ass. You know what I'm saying? But what you just said, that's Christianity.
That's Christianity.
I remember, at least down here in the South, probably where you are as well, the two sides they very rarely can hold hands together. Right. Right. And again, the issue is not us per se, it's them. It's written in their manual that you will not be hooking up in any way, shape, or form with someone who does not believe as you. Right. And I've asked people this at work, and this was long before people knew that I was not a believer anymore. But yeah, exactly. Voting for a president. Of the 10 things you needed a president to do, that person would have marked all 15 of those boxes. Now you find out a week before, that person doesn't believe in the Christian God, would you still vote for him? And I can still give you the names of the people who said what seems to be the problem. If I asked 30 people, 27 of them said, fuck that. No way. Absolutely not. No way. No way. Same thing with romantic relationships. You go on a first date, there are fireworks. The first 15 dates, you're like, I don't see how this can get any better. On the 16th date, that person says, oh, yeah, because you're like, hey, let's go to church. I'm like, yeah, I don't believe in a God. But you know what? You do you. He's not even a firebrand or an asshole.
Catch me for lunch afterwards.
Yeah, and it's like, no, if you want to go to church, go ahead. I just don't buy into that stuff. But yeah, let's go grab some coffee when you're done. Every single believer said, fuck that relationship. But I was like, okay, that person on paper is great. They adore you, borderline worship you. They make a shit ton of money. If you got a kid, he or she is great to your everything about this person is perfect, except they don't believe in a God.
Robert, I'm gonna tell you how real that is. And some of y'all may have heard this story, so old school, forgive me, but I was actually playing at a church as an atheist, right? And part of that meant I was like the only drummer at the time, so I played every Thursday and I played every Sunday, right? I also had to be at rehearsal every Wednesday, right? I also participated in Bible study on every Monday. Wow. And I went to conferences, retreats, cookout, every event, game nights, everything, right? Now, I started kind of seeing a young lady that played keyboards, right? And it got to the point where hanging out all the time and everything. Literally everyone in her family thought we were dating and like loved it. They were like, oh yeah, Christy's got a guy and da-da-da-da, he's great, he's a drummer at our church, it's wonderful, it's so cute. We're literally playing together all the time. She would not date me, Robert, because I was an atheist.
I believe
even though 100%. Everyone said, and Robert, not only was it like I'm okay with your church, I literally had her laughing because I said, I go to your church more than you do.
Yep, not
Think about that. I go to your church more than you do, and you know it. And you know it.
It
doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. Does not matter. It's crazy.
That's on the exact same page as the lady who doesn't go to church, didn't know the first thing about Judas, could not give, with the exception of the fact that she knows the Bible exists, she's got no knowledge of what's inside of the Bible. She's automatically a part of the cool people's club,
right?
And would not date someone like me. Not that I would date her anyway,
right?
But yeah,
right.
Well, when was the last time you went to church? Oh God, who betrayed Jesus? No idea. Give me the 10 Commandments. Thou shalt not play rap music. No idea. But she calls herself a Christian.
Right.
That's good enough. Would you date an atheist? Absolutely not.
Right.
What's wrong with that fucked up?
And here's where I was going with that too. Well, number one, of course, I think that makes Christianity a fertility cult. But anyway, no, the real thing is to that point. Okay, so now you just you need somebody to be a Christian to date them. Okay, cool. All right, now let me paint you another scenario. You can send your kids to a school, nice public school. There's no good religious education or whatever, or do you prefer the school with the religious education, or you can send your kids to Christian? Oh yeah, I got to make sure I have an option to send them to Christian schools and then make sure they learn about Jesus in school or whatever. All right, so there's 2 grocery stores. One is called Myers, it's just where regular people shop. Right across the street, there's the same one called Matthews. The price is about the same, maybe once in a while a little bit higher, but Matthews is run by Christians. It's owned by Christians, and they only hire Christians to work there, right? So now, are you going to go to Mars? You go, well, I'm going to Matthews, right? All right, so cool. Wendy's has a wonderful chicken sandwich, but right next to it is a Chick-fil-A. And Chick-fil-A is owned by Christians, and they close on Sunday. Oh, I love that Chick-fil-A, and yeah, I just cook on Sunday, so and yeah, Chick-fil-A is my thing. In other words, what I'm getting at, gang, is if it were up to them, they'd shop at Christian stores, their pharmacists would be a Christian, their doctors would be a Christian, their lawyers would be Christian. Of course, the people they date and have relationships would be Christians. So then I would turn to these Christians and ask them, how is this not Christian nationalism? Right? So even the liberal Christians who are so-called, they're ready to fight the fight because Christian nationalism is a problem. Oh, y'all now, it's almost like they trap themselves. Because as soon as you say that, I'm like, well, now we're going to have a conversation about Christianity because you can't really be against Christian nationalism but want to live in a Christian nation and want to only have a Christian economy and only have a Christian social life.
But that's kind of a sneak preview of what they think heaven's going to be. Them without any of us.
Exactly.
Again, that is their wet dream. That is what they wake up and jerk off to.
Exactly.
Only Christians all the time. And again, would you vote for a president who would be guaranteed to do the best for the most amount of people, but they would not touch a non-believing presidential candidate? Would you date someone who was absolutely phenomenal on pay? Fuck no. An atheist, they can go fuck themselves. Hey, you can spend more money at a grocery store across town that's Christian run, or you can walk across the street, save 20%, just random. They're carrying their ass across. But again, it's them. This is their preview of what they want heaven to be. All of them with none of us. And Christians, before I go, I got to say it. You guys talk about the rapture like it's a threat. Just so you guys know, atheists like me, I kind of want it to happen. You mean I get to sit here and enjoy Earth without someone banging on my door telling me I'm a piece of shit? If there's a heaven that your God can Scotty beam me up, you two, get the fuck out. Right? No, we're going to leave the earth and leave all you non-believers by yourself. Is that a threat or a promise? I can't.
Don't throw me a good time.
Man. I want to be able to go to the store and walk out without a 10-year-old telling me I'm a horrible person. Right? It's like, hey, you little fuck face. How much is in your goddamn savings account? Oh, you don't have it because you're 15%. But you're going to tell me that what's going to happen to me after I die. Right. Have fun in third grade tomorrow. But it's like this us versus them. Christians, just so you know, that is infinitely more you than it is us. 100%. I would love, it's like, again, Chris, man, can't we just agree that rape is wrong and just hold hands and walk off into the sunset? Y'all remember what he said? I can't agree with that at all. No, I can't do that.
Nope.
That to me is Mike. That he's the fucked up version of the nice version of Angela and Mike. At the end of the day, it's an us versus them proposition. Period.
Yeah, exactly. Appreciate it. And gang, y'all already know me. You can. I'm gonna wrap it up with, you cannot tell me you are anti-Christian nationalism and then turn around and demonstrate to me that you want to live in a Christian nation. It just doesn't, it's not gonna work for me. Appreciate it. All right, gang. The medium guy's been the little spoon long enough. That's your cue. Wrap it up.
Oh, God, fuck that.
It's fine.
All right, here. Do that again. Do it again.
All right, gang. The medium guy's been a little spoon long enough.
We're signing the fuck off. The blackout.
That. Just gotta focus on yourself out here, y'all. Don't pay too much to the competition. Don't worry about what other people doing. Gotta trust your process. Worry about yourself, like I'm saying, man. Bigger than me, bigger than you. You know what I mean? If you know what you gotta do, then do it. You're always making excuses when you got time for those. You gotta get it, man. You know what I'm saying? Don't let nobody hold you back. Don't worry about that negativity, suggestions. Fuck all that shit, my nigga. Yeah.
No competition. I'm feeling so fabulous. And you niggas mad as shit. But it do not matter, kid. So what's the comparison? niggas ain't zagging yet. Tell your homies stop gassing you. Before we pull up and embarrass you. No competition. I'm feeling so fabulous. And you niggas mad as shit. But it do not matter, kid. So what's the comparison? You niggas ain't zagging yet. Tell your homies stop gassing you. Before we pull up and embarrass you. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Still watching for clones, but they all over the globe. Probably why I say whoa. Young nigga never made money from stoves, but went hard with the zones. Me and Henny broke it down way before. Now we killing shows, just act like you know. Whoa. Got a new bitch from the bottom. Still never changed out my niggas from potters. Honest, I've been feeling golly. You get in my way, then you leave me no option. Niggas thinking this a race, till we put them in their place. Leave their family with a ghost, then we pull off in a race. Competition. I'm feeling so fabulous, and you niggas mad as shit. But it do not matter, kid. So what's the comparison? You niggas ain't zagging yet. Tell your homies stop gassing you. Before we pull up